Start? Yes! Oh my God. Thank you, Arturo. You are an angel. Okay, another.
I'm so sorry. I never did this before.
No, and I think I was doing it wrong as well, but it was giving me that message. I don't know. Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us, Fernanda, and thank you everyone. Thank you, Arturo. You're always there. Thank you so much. I don't know what we were doing, but anyway, we're here. So thank you so much for finding the time. It's so funny, guys, because seriously, I'm starting to think to write a blog post about all the things that could happen in a life. Seriously, every single time we have a different issue. Today, besides what you have just seen, we got confused because well, our watches were like all mixed up because of the daylight. What is it called? Daylight shifts, right, or
Saving,
something
that's
like that.
saving
Savings.
time.
Yeah, so we are now in Europe, and Fernanda is based in California or in the US, and so they have already changed their times. Anyway, so we were both not ready because he was following, even though it was the right time in the US, he was following the countdown that we set. Such a mess. But here we are. Thank you so much, Fernanda. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Are you fully dressed or are you like half
No,
naked and half dressed?
it's just half half. That's how I run.
I'm just thinking, well, maybe she's, one of those that having interviews through Instagram just half because of the
Yeah, I'm having so many interviews these days that I need to put on something for the camera, but I don't have. I just have sweatpants.
I love it. I love it. So how are you? You're interviewing now? Are you changing? To be honest, I really want to hear where you are doing nowadays. Just so you know,
No,
guys, very brief introduction. Fernanda is a very highly educated architect. She's from Brazil, but she studied also in Europe in the Politecnico in Milan, one of the best schools in Europe, and I think is ranked like among the
seven,
best. This,
seven ranked in architecture.
wow, I mean like globally, right?
I'm a
So,
alumni of Politecnico.
of course, of course. So she's one of, I'm super happy and it's an honor to have her here today because yeah, she's one of our top talents and she's gonna tell us how, she studied in architecture, moved to the different places where she's been and how she was always driven by, I don't know, her approach to architecture. I think it's very interesting, but she will tell us. And she was an Architect US participant. We helped her to land a job in California, in LA. Relativity Architects. They are very, very, very great people. Well, you will tell us about them as well in a second.
Yeah.
And she finished the J1 visa program, but she continued her journey in the US, her experience. So we are here all to hear you. We cannot wait to see your story. Thank you.
No problem. Then thanks for having me.
Sure, sure. And let me just pick up my notes because I was reading to your answers, from the questions that we always ask, and I was very interested in how you are more, I guess, interested in to approach to architecture from the human perspective, not only the kind of engineering side. So
Yeah.
tell us how that kind of feeling grew, as a professional.
I think since when I was deciding on which school to do for my bachelor, and you always have this thing with architecture, you don't really know which kind of field architecture lays on, because we are in the middle of like math, engineering, but we in the other side we have the history side and the human side. So when you're studying to go through your test to enter college, you have to study everything because everything is
Yes.
related to architecture. So when I had to choose the profile that I wanted to move forward for my profession, I decided to go to a school in Rio that focused more in this human sustainable side of the profession and the relationship that architecture has not only with the buildings but with the contacts and with the people they use it. So I think since then, that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about building something that is going to help people and what that is going to shape society in that way, not only society but the cities, and to improve not only the building itself but the surrounds around it. And I think that's what motivates me as an architect, and it's always been like this. So even in Italy, I always tend to go to these kind of subjects.
So
And I
to
think
to to
that's,
be impactful, right?
yeah.
In some way.
And I think that's why I'm so driven to learn architecture from different kind of contexts. So I was in Brazil, and then when I felt that that wasn't improving myself in like my knowledge as an architect, because I had
Then you
absorbed it,
move.
I went to Italy, and after Italy, I came to the US, which is completely different. So I think the architects, we have this commitment that we have to take, that we need to improve society and we need to improve how the cities are built. And I think I just
Totally.
can do that in this global world by getting to know all the circumstances, and how architecture is done and how construction is done in multiple scenarios.
It
So
would be beautiful. It would be beautiful. Do you think if, as part of the architecture studies, we were forced by the system to do a year, at your home country, do another year in a different country, and just to absorb, as you're saying, like a wide range of approaches to actually also learn from the heritage from other countries and
yeah,
build different approaches. That would be, there are actually some majors, like I know from a few friends in business that I don't know if it's a particular type of university or program, but they had to do 1 year in London, 1 year in Berlin, and then there's another option of their choice. And I think that that's fantastic because even though you are in the same, obviously, field, and that's my next question, actually, it's absolutely different. The way you, not only the tools that perhaps are, used on daily basis, but also just the approach. I mean, it's absolutely different. So what is your opinion in that regard in terms of practicing architecture? Well, yeah, you practice architecture in Brazil,
hmm
because just so you know, guys, Fernanda has been always a good girl, and while she was studying, you were working, right, from the very beginning.
Yeah,
So
I started my first internship of, I think, was on my third semester of bachelor. And since
wow,
then I never stopped working. And to be honest, that's a good thing, because the professional side of the profession is not
there's
at
nothing to do with
all. Yeah. So I always wanted to keep a balance, because I think when we're in school, we are designing the dream, and that's really
totally.
good for us, like um,
Sorry.
to build our style and to see the possibilities out there. But once you start working as a professional, you have so many challenges that you have to
You
deal
don't have
with,
it. Yes.
and you wouldn't be able to know and get this experience on.
I absolutely agree. Say that, in my case, it was just by chance, I guess, that I finished because I finished the 5 years architecture in Spain. Well, now it's changing. I think I started architecture in Spain, and here in Spain, at my time, it was 5 years, and then you had to do the thesis project. And normally, people do all in one go. You just finish
Yeah.
whenever you finish the 5 years, even though if it's in 8 years or whatever it takes you, then you just start with the thesis project. In my case, I had done the 5 years in 5 years, so I was ready to jump on the thesis project. But most of my friends were still, working on some courses, and so I was like just so concerned about facing the thesis project just by myself without my mates, and so
Yeah.
I decided to, okay, why don't I get back to the firm where I did my internship. I was also working while studying like you, and then I wait for my friends to start the thesis project, and at some point when I was when they were ready, this great opportunity to go to London and start working for Peter Cook came my way, that obviously I couldn't say no. So just by chance, I ended up having like a gap of 3 years, 3 years of professional work, I mean, before facing the thesis project. And that was the best thing I could have ever done, because I obviously faced that fear that I had in terms of doing the thesis project by myself. It was so smooth. I mean, I really actually enjoy it, while many students just struggle with it. And it was just because I built, a lot of, I guess, tools and confidence. Architecture is always subjected to a lot of pressure, right? So
Yeah.
I totally agree with you that that is definitely one of the main recommendations that I always give to, younger architects, to gain professional experience while you're studying. It's like if someone is giving you an extra piece in the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Under the table or something like that. So, and
And I
how
think
was
there's
your, sorry,
so sorry. I
no,
think
no, no,
there's so
see,
many possibilities of you as an architect in terms which is your goal in the profession, how you want to act. Do you want to be a project manager? You want it to
of course.
design, or you want to work on competitions? So you have to try everything you can, so you can figure out, oh, that's my goal. That's my profile, like that.
The more exposure you have to the real world, the better understanding you have of what you actually want to be, or what type of architect you want to become, right? And so I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with you. And I was going to say, so from that perspective, that practice in Brazil, in Italy, and also in the US, um, what are those differences in terms of approach that you kind of
I
learn
think
from?
the main difference for me it's the construction method. So in the US is basically wood construction,
Oh,
and I
you were
haven't,
mentioning that.
yeah, I haven't worked in wood construction before. I mean, of course, I learned how to build in school, but
Some
it's my
details here and there, but
it was my first time actually seeing it being built, because I was like, oh, it's like, but wood construction is kind of like, to is that structurally possible? Is it the same way as, because in Brazil we are basically using masonry and concrete and steel, and is in Europe is the same. Um, but here is basically wood construction, and it's really fast. It's incredible. Actually, it's a really nice thing to see. So I think this is the main difference. And for example, in Italy, I felt like the historical side of the country and architecture is really, really strong. Like they really care for the history, and they bring that to every single project. And I think that's really cool. The way that they incorporate the history inside every single project. And
totally.
um, so America is more like more is a newer country, and is shaped by the necessities that they have for each kind of construction. So they don't have as much of a historical side as Italy has, and the same with Brazil. I like Brazil's architecture because I think it's really simple. We have plenty of nature, so you don't have to do much to incorporate that. Um, in America, I really struggled to find a type of architecture that I liked. But Relativity has a really good design, and I think I'm really happy where I am now. It's really diverse. It's not in Italy. I think everybody has more like a similar style. Here is really diverse, so you cannot really tell. Oh, I like American architecture. It's just really diverse.
Well, you actually, I mean, Relativity, from what I remember when I visited you guys, the studio is pretty diverse already, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of it's not surprising that their approach to architecture is also diverse. And I was going to say, in terms of the design process, would you say that the design process in the US, well, Relativity probably is not the best example just because of what we just said. They're very international, I guess. And but would you say that it shortens in comparison to the design process in Brazil or in Europe, or the phases are pretty similar?
So here, I think they have more phases. So in Italy, I was working in a really good office, but they were more based on competition. So it's a completely different experience. Here, I since I entered the company, it's been an year and a half. So I've been the project that
Already?
I'm
Wow.
leading, one of the projects I'm leading, I've been through all the phases. So when I started, actually not all, I started, it was in design development, and now we are under construction. So I think America is more organized with the phases and the documents and everything that you have to produce. There's like a certain standard that you have to follow.
They're very
Um,
practical, right? They're very
yeah, they
business
are.
oriented, very business
Exactly.
oriented.
There's like, that's what we want, that's what we need, that's what we're producing.
Yeah,
So
they
yeah,
have the roadmap. They know where they want to get. The client
I,
has
yeah,
a huge. I mean, they play a big role, right? And so,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
And I think in Italy, they are more dreamers in a way that I felt like we were always designing. Nothing was ever perfect. We always designing to try to reach perfection in a way that everything matters. And I think that's good because everything matters in architecture. If you switch a window, that you change completely the design. So we're always designing in that way. Here, no, there's a limit. There's a limit. The submission is in that day. That's it. And then we have to move forward. Um, but I feel
Deadlines
like,
are
yeah,
realistic, right? I mean, like,
yeah,
yeah,
deadlines are real.
with. I think that that's actually a very interesting point because I don't know what you think, but I don't really know how is the structure of an office in Italy or in Brazil. But I mean, I practice architecture in Paris, in London, in Madrid, so kind of a good idea of how it works in Europe. And they don't normally, as I mean, unless they are like corporate or big firms, they are normally very horizontal kind of hierarchy in
Yeah,
an office. And so even though you know what you have to do, what is your role, there's no always like someone above you who you can go to for organization or for construction. Or in the US is very sectorial, I guess, and so that helps towards
yeah.
organization and
I
programming.
think because in Europe everyone is really involved and they want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of the design. In here, you need to let go of certain tasks if you want the office to move forward and the project to be developed. So you need to have people you trust. But yeah, I felt like this. In Italy, I was there like I was working like until 2 a.m. and weekends, and there
There's
was
no
no
limit,
limit
right? As long as the design is really strong and yeah.
because
I guess.
there are many voices behind the design. You know, everyone has a say in it. And in architecture, as we know, we all have big egos and we all want to have an opinion, and that really slows the process.
Yeah, I guess that as always, there's pros and cons because obviously multiple voices in the design process uh, most likely will enrich that process and the outcome. But at the same time, as you're saying, you might be uh, kind of I don't know, harming somehow the rest of the development, right?
Yeah.
And to get to a certain deadline already kind of absolutely exhausted and the rest of the project might be affected. And in terms of when you started in relativity, what was the main difficulty, or what was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to tackle this, or this is completely new for me, or I would have never thought of this way, that kind of feeling.
Yeah, so I think my main issue in the beginning, but I think that's not only because of the office, um, maybe because I was changing countries too. It was to adapt to their standards and the templates was really overwhelming in the beginning because we use ArchiCAD in Relativity, and
I
I
was
am
gonna
an
say
arch
what software do you use? Okay, ArchiCAD.
yeah, and I am an ArchiCAD user. I learned in inside Polytechnico. But still, there's so many ways that you can use the software, and they had their own standards and ways of doing it. So I think since I entered the company and it was a really busy time, I had to really jump on things. And I think it'll always be like this. You always have to adapt at first, and then you see from inside how everything works. But that was my main thing in the beginning, to adapt and to a different country, to a different office, and to different ways,
At the same time.
standards at the same time. Yeah,
And what were you?
I
Sorry,
came to LA, and the next day I was starting working. And
I
LA is
don't.
a really overwhelming place.
I don't remember your particular case, but I mean, from what you're saying, I guess that you were one of those that you got the visa and you had just to jump on the plane because you were starting like on Monday and it was Friday or something like that.
Yeah,
Was it like that, or I mean, wait, you were flying from Milan, right? You didn't go
yeah.
to.
I was flying from Milan. I had a flight that I kind of predicted that I'll have my visa by then, because if you leave, I mean, it's your decision, but I tried to like pay a bit less for my ticket, because if you buy a ticket for the next day, it's really expensive. So I had this flight booked, and I just hoped that I would have my visa back then. And then I got my visa, and I had to fly the next day before I start working.
Yeah, yeah. So you were lucky to get the passport, yeah, in hand at that moment. But and would you say that the well, explain us how was your experience in terms of your team, mates, like the atmosphere in the office is collaborative. How does it work in terms of how it is structured?
So one of the things that made me choose Relativity is that they have so many foreigners working, and they really have this open global environment.
We have like
And
4 or 5 Architect US
yeah,
participants
they
working there. Yeah.
we have Mexicans, we have Germans, we have not German, we have one German, we have Spanish, we have and even Americans. They have they come from Mexicans, or they come from Japanese. So I think LA in general is a city that is really diverse in terms of backgrounds and races, and the office really reflects that. And I think that's why I was feeling really at home since day one. And
Well,
we are a
I'm sure
family,
that
and I think it
Scott.
has to be like that. Yeah.
I'm sure that Scott and oh my God, I forgot his name now. The other partner, um,
Tima.
Tima. I was gonna say it wrong. I'm sure that they both make you feel very, very like at home. I mean, they're
Yeah.
really great people, and so how I think that this could be interesting for our viewers. How did you approach the moment that your J1 visa is coming to an end? How did you approach that kind of topic with your
So
company? So what's next? I want to stay, or what would you like me to stay? How did you manage that?
Um, I think they were always open about like options to keep me since day one, thank God. So I never had to approach myself on that topic. They came to me and it's like, look, we're going to try the H1B. My process was insane because of COVID. Everything got super complicated. But at first, they tried the H1B lottery for me and some other employees, which I wasn't selected. And then we decided to go for the O1.
Yes,
And I was waiting for my O1 to be so
approved.
I had yeah, so I submitted my O1 back in October. It was 1 month before my J1 was ending, so I could have that buffer. And then since I had the time, I was like, okay, I'm just going for normal processing. And it took like 2 months to come back, and they asked for extra documents.
Request for
And
evidence. Yeah.
then yeah, but then with COVID, when COVID hit, they extended my limit to send those documents for like until February,
So you
because
were lucky in that regard.
COVID. Yeah, and then my lawyer was like, you know what, just like take your
Pay
time,
the
collect
processing.
everything. Yeah. And then I submitted the RFE in February. Yeah, I think it was February with premium processing, and I got my O1 this month. So it's been
Yes.
1 year since I started my processing.
Wow.
Um,
I mean,
which
that is
is
not
like,
very common. I mean, that's not common at all.
yeah, that's not
Uh,
common at all. I don't
no.
recommend because I was always worried, but in the end, everything worked out. So thank God. So now I'm under the O1 visa for 3 years, and I think it's always okay to renew. So
Yes.
yeah,
Just so you
after
know,
1 year.
guys, the O1 is called the artist visa and is given to, well, the actual name is aliens with extraordinary ability. I just love the way that they describe the visa. I went through the same process, hell process, I remember, and it was pretty similar to what you said. I mean, in my case, it was not covered, but I got it literally the day before I was moving back home. But like for good, I had left my apartment, I had sold all my furniture, everything. I thought that I was done, with the US because I was not gonna get it, and my grace period from the J1 was about to expire, so I had to leave, right? Otherwise, I was going to become illegal, and you don't want to be illegal in
Yeah,
the US,
you don't
right?
want to be
You don't
illegal.
want to. So it is a fun story. I will tell you another time. But yeah, I basically received the email right in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, and it was almost like a movie. I don't know. I was thinking this cannot be true.
Yeah. I
But
was so in shock after 1 year of waiting. I was so in shock that I did not even have a reaction. I was like sitting on my couch. I was like, I don't know how to
but they allow
celebrate this.
you, but you were allowed to keep working and everything, right? During
No,
that
you
time.
cannot. You cannot work after your J1 visa
Well,
expires.
yes, but they
You're
gave
allowed
you.
to stay in the country.
Okay, yeah, they give
You're
you
not
that
allowed
time.
to work. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm sure that it's been very challenging. And you were saying that was my next question, and I will let people ask any questions if they have anything for you. That we are always asked what has been the most challenging time, during your experience in the US, and you said COVID. So I guess that is related to this, but is there any other aspects that you would highlight in terms of how architecture works and how you experience architecture working remotely and all this?
Yeah. So, I think for me, what's been more challenging is that I felt like my culture, the Brazilian culture and the Italian one were really close, and I don't feel at all with American culture. So I think people here, they just are really different from my culture, and I felt like that was a bit tricky to really build strong connections with Americans. Not because they're I don't see a problem with them. It's just that I feel like we are really different
It's
culturally,
difficult.
and
It's difficult to go deep down, right? Like you can be
exactly.
you can be in the same level forever.
It just
Like,
I feel like I can yes, I feel like I have a lot of many superficial kind of relationships. And in Italy, we are all kind of the same. We're all warm and open, and Brazilians are like, I can become best friends with you in a day, and I'll share all my life experience and all my stories, and I'm so open like that. And
yeah,
I feel like Americans are not that open. So that was the biggest challenge for me in here, and I really didn't see that coming because I speak English since I was a kid, and in Italy when I arrived there I didn't speak any word of Italian, and
Italian.
I had to learn, and I was like, okay, that's a big challenge because I cannot even speak their language.
No.
So I won't have this in the US. I've been traveling to the US since I was a kid. I was always on Disneyland. It's going to be fine. But that's like that was a big challenging for me to really build strong connections here in terms of culture.
That's super interesting. Because I remember at some point when I was living in New York, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop trying, uh, you know, going to happy hours. I don't really enjoy them, you know. This is nothing to do with a real party, you know. But and don't take us wrong, please. If we
Yeah.
have Americans here, you know, I have really, really good friends. But I was in New York for over 5 years. You know, it just took a
Yeah.
while to build
And
that type
I
of
don't know if in New
relationship.
York is the same, but the parties here, they end at 2 a.m. Everywhere it's closed 2 a.m. Like in Brazil, we're going until 7 a.m. We have to see the sunrise, you know?
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
I used to go out in Italy too. You used to go out at at 12 and
Yes,
then stay
yes,
every time
yeah.
out.
It's
And then here it was like we're starting to have fun and have to go home. That
yes,
was a
yes.
bummer too.
Yeah, it's just a different yeah, culture, I guess. But so you normally hang out more with internationals than with Americans, and you now have a mixture. How is your life set up?
So I have all my friends basically are either Brazilians or international here. From the office too. I have American friends in the office, really good friends, and my boyfriend is American too.
Oh, look
But
at that. Look at that. You never know
yeah,
what life is, you know, having for you. That's funny.
but I always tell him that he's the most non-American person I know. He's like warmer than me.
Oh, really? Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's funny. And so in terms of COVID, how has that impact your, you know, your daily work in
So
related to your personal life, but most as an architect?
in fact, everything. So before my office here, it's in downtown LA. So I was living in downtown to be close to the office. Like I said, I arrived one day before my job started, and I was overwhelmed. I just chose the easiest option that would be close to the office. I had no car. Like, you know, America, you have so many struggles to build your credit and
Oh
all
yeah.
this stuff. So I had no car. I need to go to the office. So I decided to stay in downtown. And then I got a loft in downtown, which I loved. Like I'm an architect, I love the loft life, but with COVID, I started to feel so
Isolated?
locked. And
Yeah.
yeah, because in a loft, you have no exterior space, you cannot see the sun. And then downtown LA is basically was basically the main point for like restaurants and nightlife. With COVID, everything closed, and what happened is that the streets they started to be kind of dangerous, with everything closed, and there were not many people, so I didn't feel safe going outside. And if I didn't feel
Oh,
safe going outside, I lived in a loft. I had no balcony or anything. So
oh
I
my
felt
gosh.
really locked. It was really challenging to be in that situation.
Yeah.
And you don't feel safe going anywhere. At least LA has many trails and beaches that you can go and still do social distancing. And that's what I think was the easiest to do and how to cope with the situation. So we had like a escape
Yes.
on the lockdown, which was good. But it
And in
was
terms,
challenging.
yeah, and in terms of work, because I think I read something you were saying that you know, as an architect, we are not taught how to work isolated, right? We are always influenced by others' ideas, and you know, it's a very collaborative industry and profession,
Yeah.
and I think it's one of the best things, right? Just to have those brainstorming sessions where, you know, you come up with a great idea based on the ideas of many people. So how does relativity actually deal with that? Do you have a plan set up already? Well, I guess a year after, oops, sorry, a year after, yes, but
Actually, I think Relativity did so well with this whole lockdown situation. Once things started to get really bad in LA, our office manager, she already like she had all the VPN set up, Everybody was like taking their computers home. There was this whole process. To be honest, if I lost like a day in the process of not working, that was it. And since then, we've been working. And to be honest, at first, you do feel like you missed this contact on in the exchange in the project. But then I felt in the quite the opposite at some point. I feel like since now everybody has to Zoom or like text and everything, the communication improved so much because
Really?
once everybody is in the same space, you're like, okay, I'm just doing my own thing, and then you get distracted and you start doing another thing. Once you're home and you have to fix that, the only way you can fix that, yeah, you're just so centered, and the only way you can fix that issue or the exchange or whatever information you have to provide is by calling the person or texting the person, and the answer is like right away. So
And
I feel like the
everyone is ready to answer, right? Because they know that,
exactly.
yeah, it's the only way to move forward.
So in a way, I feel like the exchange for the architecture world is really important, and that I miss like the design talks and the design phase. Really, it's better in person. But when I have to focus for a deadline, or when I have this day that is full of meetings, I feel like I'm way more productive at home when I don't have to lose time in traffic. I'm actually working more because that's a bad side of it. There's no limit. You don't change the scenario, so you just keep working. But
That's
I
true.
think when I have to focus, it's so much better. And actually, I was watching this BIG interview once that he said that the mix of it that would be great because normally
Exactly.
you want to go to the office when you have to produce, but you should go to the office when you have to exchange and then go back home so you can produce and not the
It's
opposite.
similar to what you have or what you do when you're in school, right? You go to school to, exchange
Absorb,
ideas, to
yeah.
learn, absorb, and then you go back home and then you focus, on what you have to do. You really concentrate on, your list of things and in the process that you wanna follow. I think that that is actually one of the great things that hopefully one day soon we will get out of this craziness, right? I mean, for sure, some of the protocols that we have been forced to put in place just to deal with the situation, some of them are going to stay, I think. It's not that, once COVID is gone and over, we will all go back to the office and just, resume
Yeah, I think that
the activity where we
everything will
left it.
change. Nothing is going to be back at what it was because we've learned from this experience that some part of it's better.
Yeah,
Um, so I think probably I think that a mix of both is what make it perfect because I think we need to exchange and we need to be in person to exchange ideas and like sketches and drawings and everything like that and bring the whole project together between your team. But I think when you have to focus, I had a lot of distractions in the office. And
totally.
I didn't know that back then, but I see
Yeah,
it now. Like I am so productive.
yeah, totally.
Um,
And that
but
makes me,
yeah,
oh, sorry.
sorry. No, no, it's just like
I was just gonna say that does that mean that you are not going to the office at all, or so you are 100% working remotely?
I am working remotely, but I have two constructions going on right now, so I have to be on site at least once a week for each
Oh, I
um,
see. Okay,
to ensure
because
everything is okay.
every company is different. I mean, we have a bunch of partner companies that we work with in Europe that they have like set, set up different kind of shifts. So some people go into the office on Mondays and Wednesdays, some others go on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or everyone can go into the office if they need to use the workshop. Or for, as you said, a meeting with the team or things like that. But then the rest, they are staying home for safety reasons, but also for productivity. Because at the very beginning of the pandemic, all the managers, we were just freaking out, like, oh my God, people are gonna be watching TV, they're not gonna be.
Yeah.
But that's not true. That's not the case. I mean, maybe you do that the first week, because you think that this was going to be over faster than what it has happened.
I
But
Yeah, I think like if you're working in your job and you really feel like you want to keep that project going, you know that you have to work. I don't believe that you have to work 9 hours a day to produce whatever you want to, you need to produce. You just need to show the outcome. So
Exactly.
I think as long as you trust your employees and their that they will accomplish whatever task they have in front of them. I think that's what I think this whole period showed that it's not always about the 8 to 6 kind of workload, but what you're producing and what you're bringing to the table and how you're helping the company to grow and deliver, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're saying that you have two sites, I mean two projects that you have to go to the site every week. How does that work? Because that opens many to interesting topics. How is to practice architecture in the field in a different country? How is to practice architecture in the field as a woman? And how is to practice, going to the field with COVID? I don't know if you could answer those three questions, maybe too much, but I think that that's
Yeah,
very interesting.
to be honest, I love going on site because especially for me, like one of the projects is just we're doing a studio for Sephora here in Hollywood, and I'm leading there, and it's not a really
Wow.
complex project. We're just building the studios
It
in
really
a
fits you. I totally see you designing that.
uh,
That's so
we
cool.
are yeah, we're doing a studio inside of a building that already exists, so it's a minor construction. It's going to take 4 months max, but it's like wood construction and it's like sound walls and all these things that I haven't done before. So really nice to see everything opens and all the layers in reality and how everything is actually built, because I know how to draw, but when you see in person and when you see those layers being applied and like things that you learn from the contractor because he has the experience of
Oh
building them
yeah.
and you don't, like I learned so much
Do you
that
actually
I think
go
it's the
into,
best.
do you actually go to the contractors meeting? I don't know if you have it like a weekly basis, but are you
Yeah,
are
we
you
have
part of it?
yeah, we have weekly OACs with architect and contractor and client um, meetings for each project. It's a standard for the office too. And so that's one of them I have on site, and the other one I have online. Um, but yeah, you have to keep this conversation going because everything moves so fast that sometimes one person, the client, is going to see something that you did not see, or the contractor has some issue that you did not predict. So you have to communicate. So I have these weekly meetings, and uh, I want to be on site, and I have to be on site because I need to guarantee that everything is going according to plan. And some things, if
Because you
I'm not on
you were
site to
part of the
see,
design process as well of
yeah.
that project? Okay. Okay.
So, Sephora, since it's a smaller project, I did from the beginning. We had another office do the schematics, and I developed, did plan check, permit, and now construction. My other projects are really, really big project and a really complex one is affordable housing for seniors in Hollywood too. It's a building from the 1920s, so it's a really complex.
Oh.
Every time they demo it, they find something
Is
that's
it a landmark?
completely no, it's not considered a historical landmark officially, but everybody kind of sees this
Like
as
you cannot.
one. Like, yeah, when you go through the freeway, you can see it, and they have like this kind of Hollywood sign on top of it. Like, it's really nice, but it's really challenging because we don't even know how to define the type of construction because there's like walls that you see that they were built from different times. One
Wow.
is masonry and the other one's concrete. So it's a
How
really challenging
interesting.
project.
Really interesting. And was it
Yeah.
difficult for you to get the opportunity to work on the site, or was a smoothly, transition from
I
design to?
No, I think I kind of build my way inside the company. So since I'm an architect person, which we don't have many here in the US. Basically, almost everyone is doing Revit. When I entered
Yes.
the company, I had to help a lot with the drawing and the design and building the templates and everything because we were like, I think 4 or 5 ArchiCAD users in like 20 at the time. Um, and then this is the first project that I actually worked on, and then I kind of grew my role in it since once the project was evolving. And yeah, so now,
I mean, that seems to be like natural in your case because of what you're saying. You had the knowledge, so obviously they thought, that you had the capability to continue and go into the
yeah,
side. But it's always something very, threatening, I guess. So, when you're starting your career, like we always, I think that pretty much all architects, dreams of going to the site one day, and seeing their own designs or the plans that they have been working for a long time becoming real. And it's not that easy, right? To get that opportunity. So
I think it's not only about your accomplishments, but how you show your work and how you develop trust. And as long as you
totally.
keep doing your work and you're doing your things the way they supposed and going the extra mile, um, you eventually people trust you with this position, you know? I don't think it's about years of experience. I don't think it's
No,
about
it's
like the
attitude,
school
attitude.
is attitude for sure. It's like you need to take the project as you own it and make it happen. And
Totally.
just by doing so, people trust you to do a good job because I don't know everything. I still don't know.
No,
This affordable housing is so challenging that I learn every day. It's just you shouldn't be ashamed to ask, you know. I have consultants that they know more about electrical, mechanical,
than
plumbing,
you.
and I need to ask them, you know. My job is just to keep the communication going and reflect it in the project. So I have to ask and I have to learn every day. And as long as you go for it and you keep this conversation going and your working is making that project happen, people will trust you.
Yeah, I would only add something that I experienced as well when I was working in New York is that you have to also be careful to how good you are in certain aspects because as going back to what we were saying at the beginning in the discussion that as the way the offices normally are structured, they have like different teams. If you become, if you kind of stand from in a specific area, most likely they're going to be willing to have you always working there because you're really good at it, right? And
Hmm.
so you have to always be clever about the path that you want to follow. I'm just saying this because I remember at some point I had to kind of use they were gonna promote me and I used that, I reject that promotion. So they allow me to jump into the construction because I
Hmm.
was good at design and they always wanted me to be at the design kind of phases and organizing. And even though they gave me more responsibility with having to lead with, team members, they were not that willing to let me go into the construction just because they wanted me at that. So that is something that you have to always keep in mind as well. Like, what is your personal roadmap? Where do you want to
Yeah.
go and to speak up and as Fernanda was saying, build the trust around your professionalism, but always show yourself always as well, sorry, as a versatile architect, I think. That's very important too.
Yeah, I think you always have to keep the conversation going on which is your goal in the future or where you want to achieve. Maybe you're not there yet, but you can talk to your boss and say, look, I want to, I don't know, be a project manager, you know, and what should I do to reach that position? How can I
Totally.
help? You know,
Totally.
and just be honest and keep that open. And because I know a lot of people that they're scared of talking and asking for more responsibility or asking
Yeah.
for a different kind of role. I think as long as you're honest and as long as you're devoted to what you want to achieve, you can always ask and talk about it.
Definitely. I feel like I'm like a grandma, but this is another good story I want to share with you guys. I remember when I started at HOK, that I'm sure that you know, is a corporate large structure. I remember when I started there that I went to the managing principal assistant and asked her that I want her to book some time for me to talk to the principal. And she looked at me like, what? You know, I was just starting like, what do you want to talk to him? It's like, well, I want to show him my portfolio. I want him to know what am I capable and what I'm hoping for to achieve within the company, and and she was like, okay. And he sat down with me and we went over my portfolio. He was, I guess, not really expecting that, but he was such a nice guy. Well, now he's the president of HOK, so he's a very, very big guy. Carl Gagliotto, Italian background as well. And seriously, guys, I mean, you always have to see your. I'm probably speaking to more junior people than you, but you're always scared of speaking up, of sharing your fears, your dreams, or what you are, your goals, as you said. And I think that's very important that who you are as an architect, what are your interests and your capabilities, and to show that from the very beginning, it might help you from the very beginning and every single. I bet that you have on yearly basis, like I don't remember what's the name, but they call it. It's like assessment, yearly assessment, or something like that. When they see, your development in a year, and they also ask you what you're expecting for the next year, what are your goals, and things like that. That session, that it could be very serious or protocolary, or it can be just like a coffee with your boss. It really depends on the type of relationship it is established in the office. But it's very important that you have that conversation and that you openly share your feelings, and as I said, what your goals, and where you want to go to within the company. That will help a lot to shape your journey during your time there.
Yeah, yeah, we have yearly reviews, and but my
Reviews, yeah.
bosses are always open to hear, and that's a good thing. And that's the thing. Sometimes you work in a company like our company now has more than 30 people, so of course the boss is not going to be aware of your personal needs if you don't go to him and ask, you know.
Yes, exactly. And I guess that you gotta go. It's almost an hour now, but just last question to summarize, well, to wrap up. So how is Relativity doing? How are you guys? Are you busy? Are you how do you see the industry in LA?
We are so busy right now. I keep asking my bosses, you have to stop taking projects because I'm so overwhelmed. Everybody's so overwhelmed, but it's a good thing. I think
Of course.
especially for the studio side of the company does a lot of studios. So the studios are like non-stop coming, which is great. And we have like really good big master plan projects coming in, which is really exciting. But it's just
That's
like
wow.
it's hard to keep because we grew at I think 20 in the beginning of COVID, and now we are more than 30 people.
Wow.
So the office grew a lot,
That is
and
very inspiring to hear, because
yeah,
many,
it's
many,
so
many
funny.
firms have a struggle and have closed
Yeah,
down.
many had struggled, and we are doing so well, and we are growing. We have so many new employees that I haven't met in person because they started doing COVID. It's a really different world that's
Yes.
happening, and we have so many. We are really lucky to
I'm
have
gonna
so many
talk
projects going
to
on.
Scott then. I'm gonna talk to him. I mean, if you need more
Yeah,
hands,
I keep asking Scott, I need help.
tell him we need to speak to Patty. Architect US needs to help us again. I will talk to him. But
Yeah.
well, that's lovely to hear that you're busy, that you got your old one, that you got your American boyfriend, that you got, that you're all set. And thank you so much for your time. I'm so sorry for all these craziness at the
No,
beginning.
of course.
But it's been a very interesting chat. I think that I'm going to try to bring people in at different levels because obviously you are. How many years of experience do you currently have?
I
Because I know that you
have
work a lot during
six. Yeah,
school.
in bit because I had my master's and everything, but I have 6 years of experience.
Well, it sounds like you had 10 or something. I don't know. So,
I know.
yeah, probably because of all that, time that you were working, studying, you build
Yeah, I
yourself.
was in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's very interesting for the people that follow us, to see different levels. So, thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights as an architect.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. I'm
yeah,
happy to help.
sure. No, and I don't know if people, yeah, they said that they love your work, Antonio Salina, just so you know, I don't know you know him. Uh, okay, you know what happened? That people then, when we finish the live, start emailing us all questions. So, if that happens, I will send them to you, Fernanda, because we really gotta go. But thank you
Yeah, yeah.
so much for finding the time and yeah, please stay tuned. We cannot wait. Where's next?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for hearing me, and I'm happy. And if you anyone wants to send questions, and I can help anyway. I know I have a lot of people asking me how was the road until America because it's a really complicated way to start working here. So if I can help anyway, anyone, just send to
So,
Patricia, and she's going to send me.
oh, thank you. So you actually get people asking you. They email you. This is so funny. We get many former participants that they get people, approaching them through LinkedIn, asking them questions about the program, about how, legitimate
I
we
think,
are.
yeah,
And
because if you research online, it's like everybody's always saying like it's almost impossible to get a visa and go to work in the US. So everybody has this
which is
idea.
kind of true if you don't have some
It is true.
support.
Like I've been through so much, but it's worth it. You just have to keep pushing.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Well, thank you, Fernanda, for your time. Hope that you can now realize that you have your visa in hand.
Yeah,
And we will follow you on social media. You have beautiful images. And actually,
thank you.
you won one of the portfolio challenges, right?
I
Pablo just
did.
told me. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. So if you don't know about this, guys, we have a portfolio challenge. It's actually twice. I mean, we post twice a week, but it's running every month. And so we share with you, the great work of our community. So if you want to participate, I believe that in our bio there's a link or something. But just stay tuned because we share really, really great work from our community as Fernanda. And in our blog, I think it's posted also all the winners, so you could see Fernanda's work there. Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Have a lovely one. And please say hi
Thank
to all
you.
the Relativity Architects family. And
I will.
hopefully, my last trip was to LA actually before COVID. So I cannot wait to travel again. So
I think
hopefully, I meet
everything
you.
is going to be easier with our new president. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. Have a wonderful one.
you too.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Bye. Bye bye.